All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Nicole Richter. I'm the Training and Compliance Specialist here at Medina County Board of DD. Thanks everybody for joining us today for our training on being a good human with others, creating safety in professional relationships. So just a few housekeeping items before we get started today. We have attendees joining us virtually and in person. So if you're watching virtually and you have questions during today's presentation, please just use the Q&A to type any questions and we will get those read for you. If you're here in person, just raise your hand and either Zach or I will bring you the microphone so everybody online can hear what your question is. Feel free to ask questions during today's presentation. And then following today's presentation, I can send out a copy of the slides if that's okay. People usually ask. Yes, yes. And you will also be sent a survey. So if you could take a moment to complete that survey, it would be greatly appreciated. So now I'd like to introduce today's presenter, Reinhild Boehme. Reinhild is a licensed independent social worker with a supervisory endorsement who's a clinical fellow at OhioGuidestone's Institute of Family and Community Impact, as well as a full-time lecturer at Cleveland State University's School of Social Work. Regarded as an expert in trauma-informed care and community-based mental health, Reinhild brings substantial experience in clinical practice with diverse populations and the supervision of multidisciplinary staff. Significant contributions include authoring the Institute of Family and Community Impact's clinical treatment and intervention manuals, adapting evidence-based practices to the community mental health setting, as well as the creation of the Institute's innovative CBT Plus model. Both her work and her worldview are significantly informed by her experience as a mother and as a proud immigrant, negotiating and navigating two cultural identities. As such, she is passionate about amplifying the voices and experience of migrant and immigrant people in mental health treatment and evidence-based practices. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Reinhild.
All right. Welcome, everyone. It's so nice to be back. I think this is my third time. Does anybody remember me? Aha. What are the memories like? Oh boy. All right. So it's really good to be back. I'm excited to be here today. So that was kind of like the official version, right, of who I am. I'm going to try to weave in some things about that don't show up in professional bios, because those are often the important things. Before I do that, though, I'd like to take kind of a view of the room of who is here and hear a little bit about what you do. What does your day look like exactly? I have a general idea, but maybe 2 or 3 people. I'm not looking at anyone. If you could let me know. She's got such a friendly face.
I'm a manager in our SSA department, Service and Support Administration department.
Management. Frontline, anyone? Frontlines? There, back there. Are you willing to speak into the mic? Sure. Okay, so let's find out what life on the front lines is like.
My name is Joy Marie Rodriguez. I'm not a DSP. I think we have a couple here. I'm a support and service administrator. So we are working on the ground and supporting individuals to live the best lives they can.
Are there adventures? Can I do a follow-up question? Is that okay?
Sure, absolutely.
Are there adventures that you didn't ask for?
Oh, of course. Every day.
Every day.
This morning from 7 to 9. Yes.
And are they sometimes?
But it is an honor to be able to support this population.
Yeah. Truth, for sure. Yeah. So I say adventure. When I say adventures, it's a metaphor for all the things that we didn't expect would happen when we walk into a house, and that sometimes we really don't deserve when we walk into a house, but that do happen kind of on a frequent basis. And I remember when I started this work, 2001, doing very frontline mental health work, going into homes every day, very reluctant clients and parents. And just, the first time like a soup can flew through the air, I was like, oh, these are in-home services, right? This is, a lot goes on. So thank you for sharing just a little bit. Okay, I'm going to read this again. down is forward. Well, nothing's happening. Isn't that something? That would be. Let me know when you're ready. We got nothing. Not moving at all. Is it all? Okay, we will figure this out. There's always that option that I can go slide and you do it if we can't figure it out.
And then the battery on yours has suddenly gone very low, so.
Oh, so we're gonna, there's just some, are there adventures when you're presenting? Yes.
We're on a brand new system.
Okay.
You just have to flip the switch on the top.
I can do that. There we go. Got it. This one is working now? Was it the battery? All right. We're back on track. So here we are. So this is like your official bio kind of a thing, right? This is the things that people who give talks put on their slides. I'm like, look, I have some expertise. I'm knowledgeable, right? But what I really need you to know is that I've done the work. I've done the actual work for over 15 years before I moved into what I'm doing right now. First going to homes for over 10 years, then schools, right? Lots of work in schools. And sort of trying to be like, look at this, not just from a theory perspective, kind of down to earth, like, but then stepping back a little bit and going, what's happening here? What's happening here when the soup can is flying through the air? What has happened before that happened 15 minutes ago, 30 minutes ago, a month ago, right? That we are at this point now. So we're going to dive a little bit into how to be a good human with others when we are in relationship with our clients and their parents, their families, their caretakers, which often starts also how to be a good human with ourselves, to kind of recognize what's going on inside of us, in our brains and our bodies, as we are trying to help people, right? Okay, so what we're going to talk about today is, I'm going to throw in a couple of buzzwords, but I'm going to keep them like low key, right? We're going to talk about how we perceive with our whole being, neuroception, safety and danger in relationships, right? So what happens when we walk into a house with somebody new? What happens when we walk into a house with somebody new? How do you think they see us? Any thoughts? What are their thoughts about us? When I, go ahead. Yes, I don't know you from squat. And what do you think you know that you can help me is often I would say that's a cautious approach to helping relationship. That person is trying to protect themselves or their family member and going, let's kind of wait and see, right? And it can be, it can also turn, it can be hostile, right? If bad experiences have happened in the past, right? What we know though is that being safe with each other, that's a prerequisite for us being able to help someone, right? So we're going to get to talking about what it means to be safe, being safe. Oops, not quite done yet. How do we recognize when the other person, their whole self, perceives us as dangerous or at least not safe? How do we know that, right? And then how do we create that perception with the whole person of safety around us and the stuff, the services that we provide? So that's kind of what we're doing today. Any thoughts or questions about that? Does this align with your work? Are you going like, might be important, right? Very important that what we're not doing today, we're not pointing fingers at each other and ourselves and going, you are doing X, Y, Z wrong, and therefore it's your fault that your client and family relationships aren't good. right? That's not what this is about, right? Because there are often like little things that happen along the way that are sort of natural steps that we take, and they don't always work out for very specific people. So something that works for one person that was right and great for one person might not work for another. Okay, so this buzzword, neuroception, you know, that's this guy. Are there any science nerds here? Yeah, one. We got one. Excellent. Stephen Porges, who came up with this theory, scientific theory of neuroception of safety and danger, he really figured out via research he did with very prematurely born babies, he really figured out that our sense of safety, when we think about safety, right, we often say, I feel safe, right? When we say, I feel safe or not safe, where does that live? Where do feelings live in common, like when we talk about them? It's like a psychological thing, right? I feel safe or I feel unsafe. Well, Stephen Porges really figured out that there are some basic feelings that are wired into us that are biologically based. So they're a feeling, but they're a biological feeling. Disgust is one of them, right? It's linked to our noses, our olfactory, our smelling system, right? Why would disgust be an important feeling? When you smell something that is rotten, you go, ugh. We are less likely to eat that, right? So it's actually part of our survival system. Fear is biologically wired into us for a very good reason. Imagine we are standing at the edge of the cliff, like thousands, millions of years ago, and we don't have fear. That's going to be some natural selection taking place there, right? That that the people who have fear are going to not walk too close to the cliff, right? So they are going to survive and reproduce, pardon me. And so there is going to be some genetic advantage to having a reasonable amount of fear around cliffs or high edges, or I don't know, wild animals, those kinds of things, right? Things that might eat you, right? So he really looked into how our fear systems work and said, these are biologically wired systems in us. And this is from a long time ago, and they're really designed to keep us safe. Is that beginning to make some sense? Right? So imagine have you ever walked around somewhere and all of a sudden you're like, something's not right. How do we know that something's not right? What do you think is happening? Hair on the back of your neck is going. Sense of fear, and where that comes from is not just our psychology, right? But it's our entire body, right? All of our senses are working together in milliseconds to determine whether an environment is a person, an environment, a situation, a helper, right, is safe or dangerous. And that is not a thinking cognitive process. Why might that not be a thinking cognitive process? Well, here's the story, right? Caveman or woman is walking down some little road, right? And there's a tiger. And what the cave person should not do is go, let me think about that. Is that the tiger? I'm really not sure. Let me talk to my friends. Because that's thinking is not a good thing in that situation. Acting is a very good thing. Getting away, playing dead, there's not a lot of choices with the tiger, right? But But thinking is not that helpful in that situation, right? So instead, that person might be walking and the hair on the back of their neck goes up because they heard something, they sensed something, they felt something, there was rustling, and they're going, oh, instantaneously the body is ready, right, for some sort of perception of danger. And these signals are designed to help us stay alive. Like a long time ago, Mother Nature or God, whoever, right, decided we need to design a system that people stay alive. And our fear system is such a system, right? Now, today, that's often a mismatch, right? Because we often get alerts that things are not safe that are actually okay. Does that make sense, right? The modern world is not interacting very well with our biology a lot of times. The important thing here is jargon for the science nerds in the room, right? That this system is an involuntary system, meaning we can't will it away or turn it on by willing it here. Like, so we can't say, I am going to now, because I'm here presenting, everything is fine, right? So that means I am going to turn off my fear system completely, right? That's not how that works. Mother Nature has that wired into us, meaning it's always there. I feel pretty good right now. You all look pretty friendly, right? So in as much as that is a voluntary process, that part, I can go, okay, I can let my guard down, like my psychological guard. But if there was going to be a loud, sudden sound in the hallway, there is no question that my automatic, involuntary fear system would go boom, and I would be alert. Make sense? Okay. All right. So it's not a voluntary system, which means we can't, so immediate practical application. What do you think about this? I walk into your house, you're a brand new client, and I'm going to go, hi there. What's your name?
Hannah.
Hi there, Hannah. Don't worry, I'm a safe person. You can talk to me. What do you think the success rate of that is going to be? You seem nice. Yeah, but it's not, that's not how that works, right? We're going to talk about how safety has to be experienced. We can't declare it. Of course, Hannah's a safe person, right? But the other person or family, they don't have any experience of that whatsoever, right? In fact, they might have worked with somebody before who was rude or disrupting their family life. And that, not you guys, but bad things happen sometimes out there, right? So it makes sense that the family, that Hannah, let's pretend something not great has happened in the past, right? That means Mother Nature goes, have your guard up, because helpers aren't always friendly. So experientially, or helpful, right? So experientially, that totally makes sense that somebody's guard would be up. Okay, so now that we know, I think you all knew that in some way, right? That our fear system is an involuntary system. Like, we don't do it, it happens to us. Have you ever known anyone with something called generalized anxiety? That is when you're much more predisposed to have your fear system on high alert all the time about all kinds of things, right? It's a hard state to be in. It's very exhausting to be anxious all the time. All right, so this goes without saying. When we are afraid or we feel unsafe, we are in fact not crazy, right? We're not like overdoing something or doing something wrong. What's happening is our bodies and brains are doing exactly what Mother Nature or God told them to do, right? They're being alert, they're being careful. So immediate application to our work is when somebody is, we used to call it resistant, but now we say reluctant, much better word, because it sounds more like they have a good reason to be reluctant, right? So when somebody is reluctant to engage with us, right, they're kind of withdrawn or maybe standoffish, right? I would say, you know what, Hannah, that makes perfect sense to me because you don't know me from squat. And I think I have to put, it's like the money in the bank situation. Before you believe me that I'm a safe person, I have to put money in the bank, right? Metaphor is not always good, so careful who you use them with. But we have to prove ourselves to that person. So I'm going to tell my client that I know I have to prove myself to you before I become a safe person to you, right? So, and it makes sense. You're not crazy to be standoffish or scared or all of that. That's okay to be. That's just being a human. And I'm telling you, I get that, right? So it kind of takes the awkwardness out of the situation. All right. Okay, so our bodies and brains constantly assess for safety and danger to keep us alive. And that's something to keep an eye on. So in the course of services, I have this like 0 to 10 slider, right? So when we meet someone, I can only go to here, right? There. When we meet someone, I might say, we're going to use this slider, like a visual, you can take a picture or something to like, how safe do you feel with me right now on a scale from 1 to 10 or 1 to 5, right? And they're going to say, let's say it's 1 to 5, it's 1 or maybe 2, right? And hopefully, as we get to know each other, so I'm going to assess every couple months, like where are we now? Oh, we're at a 4. That's great. Okay, more work gets done at 4, right? What is it that got us there? What did I say or do? What did we do together, right, that got us there, right? Maybe it'll go to 5, but then something happens relationally. I don't even know what I did, but all of a sudden we're back at a 2. Good thing we used the slider because I know now that my person is at a 2. And we have to do some work to get back up there so we can work together and I can actually help. Does that make sense? So instead of just assuming that the whole time, I'm assuming the person considers me a safe helper, I'm always assessing, right? In a very simple way with a picture chart or a number chart, right? How safe I feel to that person right now. Do you think you could do this? Do you think this is something that could be done? Maybe a picture chart, right? Working with parents, for example, this can be very helpful. Okay, we're going to keep going. So you guys, when you walk into working with someone, a family, a client, or a coworker, right? How do you know? How does your brain and body know that something is up? What do you observe in yourselves? And if you're online, you can absolutely type that in the chat box. Q&A, I'm sorry, the Q&A. Go ahead. You can, if it's really like feeling precarious, you can go, it's kind of like going boom, 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 right? Not a pleasant experience, right? What else might you feel in your body or in terms of feelings? Back there, back row. Tense. Yeah. Have you ever had to go into someone's home and your whole body goes, that is nothing to be ashamed of. Your whole body goes, oh, I got to go there, right? That's a tough family to work with, right? Your body will tell you when there's someone who we experience as difficult to work with. No judgment. That is okay. Something to be aware of. What else might you experience, feel in your body or brain? What might your brain be telling you? No, oh yes, the rumbles, right, in the stomach, right? Having to go pee 5 times before you see a client, or worse. So our systems are telling us, our body systems are telling us to be alert, and they're not always doing that in a wonderful, pleasant way. It's not always a cognitive process. It can be a body process, right? So again, we probably should pay attention to that, right? We should probably go, because what happens when we are tense or nervous and walk into someone's home who we maybe meet for the first time? What will they think about us? What's going on there? What do you think in terms of how we communicate? Is that? Yeah, so first of all, we might seem like they're not quite here. What's up with that, right? But they often, because they have often had other experiences with helpers, become really good, because it's a safety thing, at reading people unconsciously, right? So they might pick up on our nervousness or our fear, and then our systems regulate each other in ways that are not helpful for providing services. So it's so important that we go, first of all, recognize and then regulate ourselves. So if I am nervous, completely natural, running to the bathroom, my stomach is rumbling, I'm like feeling really, really tense, here's the script, immediate application. I go, I'm not feeling great about walking into this home right now. I'm noticing my whole body is like super tense. So I'm going to do the things that work for me. This is a 30-second to 1-minute intervention for myself, right? I'm going to breathe. I'm going to do some muscle tensing and muscle relaxing, like tense the hands, let go, deep breaths. I can do that in a minute in the car to get my body fired down as much as that is possible. I wish I had an hour, but most of the time we don't. We just have that 1 or 2 minutes to prepare ourselves. Okay, so you all know the signals. Everybody has different signals, right? And like one of them might be, I don't want to go there, right? I want to hand this person off to somebody else, so I'm not feeling, and these are all valid things to experience, because we also, it's not just our clients who have safety systems, but we ourselves also have safety systems. Okay, well, there's this beautiful thing though, right, that Mother Nature gave us, which is, again, this is from that guy, Porges, the face-heart connection, right? Works differently for people who are neurodivergent or have autism, word of caution, right? So, if I look at someone with an open face, heart, and body, so not like this. Hey there, Hannah, nice to meet you for the first time, right? Right. But if I look and go like, hi, Hannah, it's so nice to meet you. If that person is in a reasonably regulated state, they will connect with the face I'm making, and there's a nerve called the vagus nerve, 10th cranial nerve, that will send a signal to the heart to slow down, right? Go like, we have a good connection here with our eyes and our faces. Seems like this person is reasonably safe. So you, my client, will get a signal going, slow down the heart rate, because I'm not going to have to run. This is a reasonably safe person, right? So if you're working that, this is a general thing. It's not true for everyone. So how do you think you might have to alter that for somebody who's neurodivergent or autistic? Thoughts? It depends. So there are autistic people who self-define as autistic who be like, yeah, I've got the same system. Yeah. But there are also people who are like autistic people, neurodivergent people who are like, do not give me this, what you call a friendly look, and what I perceive as a impossible stare at me. Don't do that with me. So I might, we might alter that. I might say, hey, Hannah, so nice to meet you. So I'm going to have some intermittent contact, right? That is going to feel a little bit less threatening, less intrusive. So we get that process built in, but we do it differently. How do we know if Hannah enjoys me doing this process with her that's eventually going to get her to have her heart, slow her heart rate down? How would I know? Very simple solution to how to know. We ask. If a person is a speaking person, right? We ask, is it comfortable if I look at you? Can I look at you? And is this okay, right? And they will most likely tell us in some way. Okay, so now we know a little bit about how this system actually works, right? So the face-heart connection helps our system slow down and calm down. So, and this is because when our heart is racing, it's preparing for fight or flight, right? So we need energy, our heart pumps faster, our adrenaline gets going, cortisol, these are like stress hormones, they get going, right? And so we're ready to get away or to fight. What does fighting oftentimes look like? Well, that's a flying soup can, but most of the time my clients or their families wouldn't fight with me physically. What might they do? What? Yell, argue, stomp, you know, if it's a small child, throw items. Those kinds of things are pretty common ways of going, like somebody is in a fight response here, and no amount of me telling that I'm a safe person and I'm here to help you at that moment in time is going to make a difference. I got to help them fire down their system. And immediate application, when somebody is in a fight or flight response, what's a great thing to do unless there's immediate danger to life? I'm going to step back, because they're now perceiving me as a threat to them, which means I should not be, and this is like a general thing. This doesn't have anything to do with developmental disabilities, right? This is a general thing. If you're in my face, right, I perceive you as a threat, right? Unless we're in love, that's a whole different thing, right? So we want to make sure that we have ourselves, our heart rate is reasonably slowed when we interact with others, and we want to make sure that we are able to transmit that to others, because we need that so that we can collaborate in learning. We need to be able to be in this reasonable state of calm. We don't learn very well, I know that from education, when we are afraid. When we're in a survival state, we just don't, or in a fight state, or in a flight state, we don't learn very well. This is also a general human thing, right? So this is why when I worked in schools, the kids who were living in extreme poverty or who were living with addiction in the home, but it wasn't yet well known, they couldn't learn very well, right? Because they were in a constant state of fear. So sometimes they looked like they had learning disabilities, but they actually had current trauma, right? And so their focus was just on everyday survival. Okay, so, okay, science nerds only, everyone else, you can just clock out for 1 minute, right? This system is sort of developed over time. This is a really old system, the freeze system, when the body or brain goes, none of this feels safe. Bad things are very, very imminent. I'm about to be eaten by a tiger, or I'm about to be beaten up, or I'm about to be killed, right? So there is a system inside of us that will shut us down, very old, like a reptile, right? Will shut us down, and will actually, body will produce its own opioids for pain control. That's an old system when the tiger was going to eat us, right? And we're just shut down, right? So a little bit like, has anyone ever seen somebody who's catatonic? Okay, right? In this group, probably more people than other people out there in the general population, right? So it can be a little bit like catatonia, completely shut down, not responding, right? That can be, as a shutdown, can be a safety type of a system, right? So what we often assume when we meet our clients is that they are in their social engagement system, right? That their body is well regulated. I'm walking the house and we get to work. Great, right? But a lot of times they're not, right? Because of life experiences that have nothing to do with you or us. They're somewhere here in a state of perceiving the situation or us as dangerous. They're irritated, they're frustrated, they're worried, they're sometimes in a rage, sometimes in a panic. Do you guys ever get sent in because DCSS sends the Department of Children and Family Services sends you in? Yeah, so that can happen too. So if the Department of Children and Family Services sends you or like a mental health person in, that's automatically raising fear, right? Because even though today the Department of Children and Family Services already has enough children in their custody, they don't want to take anymore, right? But people perceive that as a real threat that somebody could come and take their child away. Okay, so what we should know is we should, immediate application, always assess where that person is. Remember that slider, 1 to 5? How safe do you feel with me right now? That's one way of doing it. Not everybody can talk about it. So then we have to assess body language, right? Is somebody closed off, right? Hunched over, looking away, right? Because they can't, out of fear, interact with me right now. I really have to assess that. Do you work with parents a lot? Yeah? Okay. Parents can often tell us a lot. If we're feeling safe with them and they're feeling safe with us, parents are a great source of information. Okay. So I think we talked implicitly about this. So this is a very old system designed for survival. It's a physical system. We have a fight response, which for us often, we often see anger, rage, irritation, and frustration. What do you see when there's a flight response? Interesting thing when you're providing services. What's a classic flight response when we are providing services? And very annoying as a provider. Yes, no shows and cancellations, right? Sometimes it's just life, right? It's just like stuff gets in the way. But there might be I don't know if this person is a great person to help me. I'm a little bit afraid, so I'm just going to cancel, right? So that, if there are cancellations in a row, I would really wonder if there's some sort of flight response going on. And I want to talk about that if that is a possibility. And I want to ask, is that a hand up or was that? Can you say that a little bit louder? Yes. So that is a very clear, protective, and defensive response, right? That is sending us a signal, unless they have internal stuff going on, that can happen too, right? But they're like, I don't want you, I don't have words, so I'm going to throw stuff your way, and that's telling you you should stay away because you're not safe for me right now. I don't perceive you as safe for me, hence you need to stay away, right? Tough situation, right? Because what can we do when somebody's throwing something at us, right? Back up. That's a very good response, right? We back up and we bring some items that person, not necessarily food, right? But I walk around with squishmallows a lot, right? Even because you can throw them and it doesn't really hurt, right? Even when I go to teach graduate school, I still bring squishmallows to class, right? You'd be surprised how many young adults love to hug a squishmallow, right? So I bring stuff with me that I can put close to someone and then walk away again and see if they pick it up and if it's an item of comfort. And if it's not, I'm going to swap it out and try something else, right? I'm going to see if music helps a little bit, right? So we're going to try different things to try to lower that neuroception, that whole body perception of danger till we hit something that works. And I'm not saying it's always an easy process. And sometimes people have a lot going on physiologically, so they might also have, not unusual, you probably know this, for persons with developmental disabilities to have other things going on. So I know of somebody who had horrific arthritis and nobody knew it, so they were always in pain, and pain does not make you a friendly person. Chronic, immense pain does not make you a friendly person. So that became a much more engaged person when they got treatment for what was going on with them. So lots to sort out. That's the wrong button. Here we go. Okay, I think we talked about the freeze response. So when we have somebody, which often comes after fight or flight, if I can't run and I got no chance in fighting, right? If it's an actual tiger in front of me, the freeze response kicks in. So in terms of being a human with other humans, right? If they have already experienced that they can't get away, maybe they're not mobile, right? Maybe they can't get away, and maybe that other people have been overpowering to them all the time. They might move into that sort of like catatonic state where they just are non-responsive to us, right? And that is what we need then is a very gentle interactional approach, because it can't be forced, because they are in that state for a reason, for self-protection. Okay, so this is that social engagement state, right? That's the rest and digest. Everything is taken care of, right? There's another sciencey name for that. We're connected with ourselves and the world. We can perceive the world. Everything is working as it should, right? And by the way, that also, when we're in that state for prolonged periods of time, our immune system also works better. Interesting, right? So when we're under a lot of stress all the time, and our clients, our immune systems don't work so well, and we get sick more. Okay. So, okay, to recap. In order to work with us, to collaborate with us, our clients need to feel reasonably safe with us. I say safer, right? Because safety is built over time. So it's never like, okay, now I feel safe with you. Everything's fine. It's always, we're building that over time. And then sometimes stuff happens, right? And we got to go back and rebuild, right? We also learn the most from those we feel actually give a hoot about us, that care about us. If I know that somebody, this is like the neuroscience of education, if I know that somebody cares about me, I will be much more likely to listen to them, right, and take in what they're saying. How do you help somebody recognize that you actually care about them? How do you do that out there in the field? This is a question to you. This is not me telling you. How do you convey that to people? Yeah, telling them is a good start. You know, experientially, it will take some time, right? Yes, our actions over time, and often it takes quite a while to, so over time, I care about you, I'm going to say it, but that becomes true over time, right? So word of caution, our clients have often had not so great experiences with helpers. So when we say, I care about you, we have to actually mean it, show it, live it, breathe it, right? So we have to be very careful that the nice things we say to our clients are actually true. And sometimes, and this is a hard thing to talk about, our clients and their families are not likable every moment of the day. I see like a small grin there, right? Yeah. Yeah, she has experience, right? Like, so then I have to find that one thing that I like about that client. And I'm going to harp on that so that I don't say something that I don't actually believe. Long time ago, somebody I worked with, young person. I mean, there was a lot going on in my room that I was like, how am I going to stop this person from tearing up my room essentially every time, you know? And so it was hard to be around that amount of energy and destructive energy. But he loved to draw. And so I would talk about, I love your drawings. I love how you make these drawings for your mom, right? And you take them home. And then I know that's the thing that I was serious about, that I could say that I really meant. So we have to find that thing that we really, really mean, right? So that's that part that we have to care about our clients. It's a back and forth street, right? So they begin to care about us, we care about them, and then we can actually help each other. All right, so I think, I have a tendency to cover stuff in slides like as I talk about it. So neuroception is, if we were to summarize this, it's our body radar. It's invisible. No one can see it. Always scanning. It's faster than lightning. It's biology, and it's involuntary, and we all have it. It's a human thing, right? That's what neuroception is. You don't have to call it that. You can just say perception of safety and danger, right? Totally fine. Well, here's the interesting thing. It's a binary system, meaning it will go either to the situation is dangerous or the situation is safe. Let me see the next slide. Okay, so, and when there's a question whether the situation is dangerous or safe, think about it in terms of evolution. Where is the system going to land if it's unsure if something is dangerous or safe?
Danger.
Yes, because if my body is wrong about this, my body goes, oh, it's safe, and it's not, right? Evolutionarily, I would have been dead. So the system is going to default to danger if it is unsure. So there's a lot of burden with that, right? Our clients already often have systems that are fired up through life experience or maybe genetic predisposition. And then they also know that it's better experientially to assume that a person or situation is dangerous, because if I'm wrong about that, well, I might get hurt again, right? So it's probably safer for us to assume somebody is in neuroception, perception of danger about us when we begin to work with them. We're going to ask them if they can talk about it. That would be great. And there's nothing wrong with you as a helper when that is the case. You did not do this, right? This is the person coming with their invisible backpack of burdens and genetics and a whole bunch of experiences, right? You didn't do it. You didn't do anything wrong. It's just what we're working with, right? Was it a hand up or just a stretch? Stretch. Okay, got it. Okay. So emerging neuroception of danger, somebody was like, oh, darn it, the bell rang and they're here. I forgot about that, right? There's this lady at my door. She looks and sounds nothing like me. Who does she think she is, right? That might be playing, that record might be playing in someone's brain. Oh my goodness, they're giving me parenting advice again, right? He doesn't even have children. The last time somebody like this came to my house, they reported me to DCFS. So I'm already definitely like up in neuroception of danger. Okay. All right, we talked about that. Default setting is danger, something to be aware of. All right, so this is about us, right? This is the slide of how I illustrate, this is me, this is truly me, right? This is how I think I present to my students and my clients and then the people in my life, right? But when I walk into a house, I might be Severus. Harry Potter fans anywhere? So no, it's actually, oh yeah. So this is Severus Snape, a very complicated character in the Harry Potter series. And so people might see me like this for real, right? I mean, I say this like as a joke, right? But they really might see me like this for real, right? So they see somebody who is threatening, not, How do you think the face-heart connection is working here? It's like, hi, Hannah. She's not gonna connect with me under those circumstances, right? So we should assume that our clients are don't always view us how we view them. Does that make sense? Okay, I'm gonna check in. Do we have any questions on the, no? Very quiet out there in the world. Okay, so if you're out there in the world virtually, if you have any questions, please type them in the chat box. Any thoughts or questions from the room so far? Okay. What part of this so far is helpful? What's sticking? I know. Go ahead. It's always you. It's great. So what's helpful?
So I do really like the idea of the scale, and I think it's important to understand the perspective of how they're receiving us, and even though it's nothing maybe we do, you have to think of that backpack.
Yeah, and no judgment about how they perceive us, right? Because we didn't do it. It's just how people come. Any other thoughts in the room? Up right here, Nicole.
I like the reminder to just back up, to de-escalate. Like it's something I think I forget about quite a bit.
Yeah, if you're a crisis responder, that's a different thing, right? Then we already know it's a crisis. There is a threat to life, and we move in, right? But when there's no threat to life, right, it might be helpful to step back so that people have less of a sense of me being in their face and more of a sense of like, okay, I have my own space, right? So this is just sort of illustrating all the things that can get in the way that we didn't do. You didn't do, you didn't decide that the world was going to be full of ableism. That is not like you wouldn't have decided the world should be like that, right? But people live within that world all the time, right? There might be past educational difficult experiences, poverty, all kinds of systems that don't necessarily support the well-being of people with disabilities, right? Sexism, racism, all those kinds of things get in the way of a perception of safety of the person right in front of them, which might be you, but you didn't do this, right? You didn't create this. And that's an important thing to remember. So there's no benefit in us blaming ourselves for a difficult situation. We just have to work with the difficult situation. Okay, so the $1 million question, right? So now we know we really got to be alert and measure in some way, shape, or form, not always formally, but sometimes it can be helpful if someone is feeling safe with us. What can we do about this, right? Like I tried to throw in practical application right away as we were talking, but that's really, because this is all very good, but sometimes it could be a little bit depressing. You're going like, okay, that's overwhelmingly difficult for me. What am I actually going to do with this? Turns out a lot. Whoops. So some do's and don'ts. I'm going to assume that when I work with new people that they have been hurt by people and systems, and people haven't always been helpful. Systems haven't always been helpful, right? I'm going to be, that word, cultural humility, but I'm generally going to be reasonably humble. I'm going to not walk in there and go, I know stuff that you don't know, and I'm going to tell you the stuff that you don't know, and if you follow my directions, everything will be okay. That's going to, that's going to raise that neuroception of danger, because what I've just done, I've said, I am here and you are here, right? And I know more than you, I'm better than you. And that does not make people feel safe with other people. If somebody goes, I'm above you. So I'm going to try to avoid like marching in with my expert status and like using words like neuroception. I'm not going to do that when I'm meeting clients, right? So I'm going to be reasonably humble. That means a lot of listening and a lot of questions, right? And I don't mean like the Spanish Inquisition questions, like one rapid fire question after another, right? Follow-up questions, right? If it's one thing I've learned, and that's a human thing, I bet it's true about all of us, everybody wants to be heard. Almost nobody wants to be lectured about what to do. So if the more time I spend, and I do understand time is limited, right? We only have an X amount of time with a person, but if we front load with asking a good open-ended question, and we listen, and we don't use fix-it listening, right? Where I have an answer to everything right away, and I'm going to tell you the answer before you can even finish your story, right? That's going to turn people off, right? They're going to go into flight mode. They're going to internally walk out the door while we're talking to them, right? So I'm going to do a lot of listening so that you know you matter to me, your story matters to me. And I might have disagreements with part of the story, but it doesn't matter, right? Listening and validating does not mean the same as agreement. So if somebody tells me, I just couldn't do anything else, I had no other choice than to whoop my kid. This happened, like in, mental health services, and you're going like, From where you stand, it sure sounds like that, right? I'm not necessarily agreeing, but I'm validating, right? And I might say, if it's really in the room, I might acknowledge, like, yes, if it's a mandatory referral, right? I might say, it doesn't feel good that I was sent here to come into your home, and I understand that, and it feels like you've got something hanging over you, and that something is me. I'm going to do my best to collaborate with you. I'm going to have to be honest about the parameters, right? I'm going to have to say, here is what somebody is expecting of you, but we're going to do that together. We're going to collaborate in as much as that is possible, right? I'm never going to, assume that a person feels safe with me without talking about the things. I'm never going to assume that somebody is ready to start working on the stuff that they need to work on right away, right? Because most people are not, right? They're in some sort of careful or fearful state. And so we have to help them get out. And I'm never going to flaunt my expert status. Hello? Oh. So the clicker is now not working anymore. He's going to fix that. Let me see. Backwards and forwards are not working. Oh, thank you. It just, takes a break, right? All right. So now back to us. All right. So when we walk into a situation, it could be a new person or it could be a recurring situation, right? I am also going to ask myself, because I have the same system that my clients have, right? How do I feel in the presence of this client? Do I feel reasonably safe? Is my neuroception of danger up? Why is that? Is there something I can do about that? How do I regulate my systems? Like, so one of the most helpful ways of regulating our systems is breath. You all know about this, right? Yes? Kind of? Okay. So I do this simple thing for myself, right? Which is like, it's visual, so it helps me a little bit. I'm going to try to breathe out longer than I breathe in, so I don't hyperventilate, because when we hyperventilate, we don't think very well, right? Our brains kind of go wonky. So it's just a quick. That took me about less than 30 seconds, right? But because it has habituated, meaning my body already knows, as soon as I go like this, my body knows she's doing the relaxation thing. She's firing down her systems. And because I've done it 50,000 times, it works almost instantaneously. So it's not a good idea the first time we are in a very stressful situation to go, oh, let me learn how to do that breath thing right now, right? Because we're going to be like, right? It's a good idea to do this routinely, maybe 3 times in the morning, 3 times in the evening, so that over time you can pick up doing that in your car or in your office. This fires down it has to do with heart rate reduction, right? has to do with making sure that we're not hyperventilating, which is something we tend to do when we are really, really stressed out, right? So my first choice, it's up to you though, is breath, right? But there's so much more, you know, maybe it's too much work, right? Maybe breath is too much work. Maybe I'm going to sit in my car for a minute and listen to a song that really soothes me, or a podcast that really soothes me, right? So there's meditation, there's prayer, right? What is your cup of tea? Find your cup of tea that fires down your systems. What is your cup of tea? How do you soothe your systems other than an actual cup of tea, right? Which also is nice. What do you do to fire down your systems? You might not call it fire down your systems, but you're doing it. I'm looking to you because you're no. What? I saw your hand in the back there.
Take the moment. I'll give you a moment. We're gonna go sit in the car. When you're ready, you approach us, and that helps.
Oh.
The control is transferred to the individual, and then you go in the car and visually whatever you do until they come to the car.
Beautiful. So she's going back to that situation where someone is not ready to see us and they're throwing stuff at us. So we know they're not ready to see us. And she's introducing very smartly choice. You come to me when you're ready. Now with teenagers, it can backfire because they'll never come. I'd be sitting in my car an hour later, right? Right. But that can, if I hand power back to you, that can be reduces neuroception of danger, because now you get to make the choice. It's not me making the choice for you. Beautiful, right? Did you have another one there and there? What do you do to fire down your systems?
I definitely do the breathing. One thing that I do when I'm breathing is I close my eyes and I breathe in the good, breathe out the bad.
Yeah. So we have something in common, because you might have noticed I automatically close my eyes when I do that. It is no longer a cognitive process, right? I have to do it. It just happens because I want to shut out the stuff that might be riling me up. Did you have your hand up?
I pray.
Yeah. So meditation and prayer, right? Kind of the same neurobiologically speaking, not religiously speaking, but neurobiologically speaking, right? Unless it's the Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes-Benz prayer? That's not soothing, right? But contemplative prayer or meditation, right? Putting oneself in the presence of the divine, hopefully, would be soothing, right? Unless it's a wrathful God, that's not so great then, but, right? But that would be soothing, right? That would fire down your system. So whatever your cup of tea is, find it and use it, right? All kinds of comfort items. I do carry, like, you know, the squishmallows. I also carry blankets with me if somebody wants to wrap themselves, or if they're feeling unsafe and they want to gently wrap themselves. Has to be safe, of course, can't be a weighted blanket a lot of times, all kinds of things going on. So we're getting to things to do, right? We want to listen. We're going to listen a lot. I think I front loaded that in this particular talk. I just kind of got there, right? So if you're like me, you have an impulse to immediately sort what needs to happen and then develop a list and start wanting to go through that list with my client. I constantly have to fight that urge, right? And go, more listening, be quiet, Reinhild, not yet. Let them tell the whole story, right? So you might all be good listeners, but if you're like somebody who likes answers, I like answers, right? And that comes from my time as, you know, case management experience, where a lot of things a lot of times had to happen very quickly, right? Where it's just like, I got 34 things we can do to make this better, right? That's not what most people want to hear at that moment in time. They just want to be validated. So what does listening to create safety mean, right? It means listen with care. It means that active listening, where I'm going, I hear you. Exactly. That makes sense. Like all these like validating statements that I'm throwing in when there's a natural pause and I'm not talking over people, right? So I'm going to take time and then I'm going to take some more time, right?
I'm going to avoid that fix-it listening where before we've actually had the story, create answers that are not the client's answers, like your generic. People don't like generic answers, right? They want to know that the things we are going to do, we create them together and they're specific to this situation. So even if I have a good program for, I don't know, behavior management, there are great programs out there, right? I'm still going to make sure that it is customized to that client and that family so they know they're seen and heard, and it's not just a program I'm going to impose on them, right? This is a tough one for me, like no interrupting until they've told their story. If there's a natural pause, if there's a pause, and I'm sure, not sure if they're done, I might say, is there more? Is this the whole story? Is there anything else, right? So concrete things to say to make sure people feel heard. Everybody, including ourselves, just want to be heard. Have you ever come home from work? This is about us. And you have a story to tell to your spouse or partner, right? And you go, blah, 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 and they interrupt you. And they go, blah, 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 right? Doesn't feel good. I wanted to tell my story. Maybe I had a whole lot of pressure today. So everybody just wants to be heard. So this kind of listening for safety, right? It fires down the biological systems that signal danger. So it creates relational safety over time, not instantaneously, not magically, right? It is today I feel a little bit safer with you, my helper, than I did last week kind of a situation, right? That's what we want. We want to go up the ladder of safety. So I'm implicitly saying you and your story matters. I really actually do want to understand here, right? I'm not just imposing a solution. And you and your story are safe with me, and I'm here for you, not vice versa. This might be the most important one, right? It's not me. I'm not here about me having to tell my story or my theory or, the things I need you to know. I'm here for you, right? If I'm here for you, I have to understand you. And you have to feel reasonably safe with me in order to things to work. All right, what's this lady's message here? It's on the list of things not to do that I had earlier, right? So pointing is like an in your face, right? Can I point in your face for a moment? Okay, like you did it, right? And then that frowny face, right? It's really signaling that I have something that I disapprove of or that you're doing wrong. So we got to watch our immediate application when we are talking to people in a friendly, calm, and soothing manner. We want to make sure that we're not doing this with our hands, right? Everything has to work together, right? And since I am, and this is why it's a good thing I'm holding this, I'm a very active hand speaker if I'm not holding something, right? So I a lot of times hold something just so I'm not waving into people's faces, right? So there's something you can do, right? So what I'm saying here is like your story doesn't really matter. I already know better than you. I got my story to tell you. I already know you're making mistakes, and I'm going to tell you how to fix those mistakes, and then I'm going to wander off, and off I go, and you're stuck with the same situation and my solutions that don't work for you, right? So people who study communication talk about congruence in between the content of what we're saying and the nonverbal communication, right? So, and we know from those people that 70% of communication is nonverbal. Take that. I talk too much. I'm a very verbal person, right? But I have to understand that people hear what they hear when I talk might be like, but will they see me as a reasonably safe person because of my stance, because of my tone of voice, the melody of my voice matters. Okay, do we have time for the story? We do. Okay, so I remember going to I was in New York City, this was like 15 years ago, and I was at a museum, it was a Tibetan museum, and there was this guy walks through and goes, hey, we have a free meditation coming up. You want to do it? And I'm like, sure. And yeah, fine. Something new. Let's do it. Right. So this is about tone of voice. So we're sitting down. We got cushions. You know, my body goes, I know what to do. Right. I'm already relaxed. And this person opens their mouth and goes, imagine yourself at the top of, and I'm like, oh my God. Right? So my neuroception of danger went woof, right? Not a soothing voice, right? Not for me. He wasn't embodying a sense of safety, right? It was a very high-pitched, sort of nasal voice in my face. And my body was telling me this is not a good situation. Like I started feeling like antsy, right? Like I want to get up, I want to get out of here, right? So not only do our bodies, like our body language, our hands have to signal connection, it's also our voices. Voices are tricky though, right? So because I have worked with, so I tend to slow down and soften my voice, right? When I work with clients on difficult things. But there are some clients who've said straight on to me, so this is very contextual, oh, you're doing that soft voice thing again, right? So they don't want that. So we might have to kind of figure out what's right for them. They're like, that's not my thing. Stop doing that thing, right? Stop doing the soft voice kind of a thing. Okay, so we want to do a lot of validating when we've done some really good listening, because validation increases that person's sense of safety with me. They are really hearing me and they get my perspective. So what does good validation sound and look like? I hear you. That must be so hard. I can understand. So this is like my magic phrase when I'm like, oh my God, right? What's going on here, right? And I have no agreement, but I can understand why you feel that way. That makes sense. From where you stand, that absolutely makes sense. You're right. From what you're telling me, it seems impossible to do X, Y, Z, right? You know, when you have like work with parents, you have parenting advice, and they're like, that's never going to work for my kid, right? So we're going to need to lower that neuroception of danger. I completely understand how you got to this point. That totally makes sense, right? It's not impossible to get into the situation, right? That all makes sense. Okay, checking nonverbal messages. What's going on here? He's not happy and she's bored. Maybe bored and tense, checked out, a lot of all of that, right? So yeah. Yeah, so the thing that we want to really check when we meet somebody new, meet our clients, meet their families is, so I might say, hey there, so nice to meet you. And my face is kind of distorted, right? And I'm working with the face-heart connection, but in the wrong way, right? My whole face is saying, I'm loud, I'm obnoxious, I'm in your face, right? Oh, I don't think so.
I'm loud.
Right. I don't think you're obnoxious. I would know that by now.
Come on.
All right. Too much.
She knows.
We see a lot going on here, right? So we have to check our nonverbal messages. A great way of doing that is to check in with a colleague who likes us, but who's also willing to be honest with us, right? So one of the things I learned about myself a long time ago, I was giving presentations a lot, and my hair was not long enough to be combed back, right? And somebody told me after a presentation, they're like, your hair kept falling over your glasses, and you kept going like this, like every 10 seconds. You know, I was like, outrageous. How could they say that? And they were like, it was distracting to me. And I was like, that's outrageous. They would never say that to a man. That is just somebody criticizing a woman didn't like it. Then I watched the video. I'm like, oh my God, I'm doing that. And it's really distracting. So find someone who likes you, but who's also willing to say in a very friendly, safety reassuring manner, there's that thing that you do that on occasion can be just a little bit distracting or annoying or feel threatening, right? But it's important that someone really likes you, right? Because otherwise we're not going to take in that information because we know that person doesn't really care about us. Okay. We really just don't like a client. I think I preempted that slide too. So our clients often read us well, especially if they have trauma, and a lot of people in the developmental disability world do have trauma, right? If we don't mean what we say, they will know, sometimes just intuitively, right? They'll know that they're just yesing me, or, but they don't really believe it. If they can't read us well, they're going to default to a sense of danger. This is something to be aware of, right? So there's that thing that we talked about, that one thing that I appreciate about this client or family. Make it big and important. Develop true admiration for that one thing, right? Maybe the artwork this client did, right? I have to develop, in some cases, my conviction that this client and family has inherent strengths, because they have managed to radiate their hopelessness onto me, right? And I feel it now because I'm empathic. I feel their hopelessness, and it's like permeating me, and that's not a great place as a helper, right? Because I don't want to become hopeless. So I have to develop this conviction that they have inherent strengths, and we're going to find them. We're going to find those strengths, and I have to mean that, right? We're going to use, so more practical things to do, we're going to use words and behaviors that connect, right? A lot of words and behaviors over time, right? What are your connecting words? What's the wisdom in the room? What do you say or do? You have your tricks. I know you do. You might not know that you have them, but you have them. What do you do to make yourself feel safer for a client?
I say, tell me more.
Tell me more. Yeah. Good listening. Wonderful thing to do. That's a great one. Thank you, right? I don't take it for granted that you talk with me, right? I know this is very difficult, and I'm so grateful that you opened up today, because I know that's a tough one, and I really thank you. Great message. Other things? Go ahead.
Saying things like, I'm just really happy we got to spend time together today.
Yeah. And then we have to mean that, right? If we were not actually happy, right? If we weren't happy the whole time, because 90% of the meeting was terrible, but the last 5 minutes were great, I really loved how we did that thing together at the end. I think did that really work for us? Maybe next time we start with that, right? So remember the days when there was money and you could like buy food for your clients, right? Can't do that anymore where I work, but sometimes sharing something, if a client offers me something and I know it's safe to eat, I'm going like, okay, that's so nice of you to share your stuff, right? Or if I have like wrapped granola bars and there's no food allergy, I just kind of have them out and go like, okay, because hungry people don't generally work very well in taking in information. Lots of things we can do. So make your own list of validating and reassuring people. And sometimes it's a good idea to have like a laminated card. When things get really stressful, we run out of words, right? And we can just have that like plastered on our bag or something like that. Words and behaviors that connect. It's a tough one. Like, we're going to do what we say we're going to do. I'm going to be here on Thursday at 3. I'm really trying to be here on Thursday at 3 because people's lives are complicated. If my boss told me to do something else and I'm going to be 15 minutes late, I'm going to call, right? Because it doesn't foster safety and connection if I'm unreliable with that family, right? I'm going to be both honest and kind. One is not good without the other. Like, if I'm only kind and never honest, we never get to do the work, right? If I'm only honest and never kind, that person's never going to want to work with me, right? Because they're like that person doesn't like me and doesn't appreciate me. Like, we really have to work with respecting the values of that specific family that we work with, and we find out what they are, what's important to you. Usually we don't use the term values. I just go, what's important to you, right? How do you run your family? Okay, that's helpful for me to know. We are on time, we listen, we, in as much as this is possible, we collaborate. Collaboration elevates a sense of safety because it means we're working together on this as opposed to I have a message that I hand you and you better do what I say and that's that, right? So if we build solutions together, people feel safer than me imposing solutions on them. Okay, this is the most important message, right? That safety is experiential, not declarative. I can't declare it. I have to make it happen, which means build it over time, right? We all know this. The people, for example, that hopefully we partner with, we can walk into the house or meet up with them and our guards can come down and we can just be ourselves, right? So we have to create some semblance of the experience of safety over time. So if it's not yet true, we're going to ask, we're going to say, why is this not true yet? What, and I'm going to say, what are the things that I say or do that make you feel safer? And then I'm going to ask, what are the things that I say and do that make you feel reluctant to work with me? And I'm going to do my best to make it possible for the person to honestly answer that question, right? It could be a mannerism of mine. It could be a modality, a strategy I use that they're like, this doesn't make me feel safe. And if it doesn't make them feel safe, they're not going to benefit from it, right? Oops, always the wrong button first. So I think we got 4 minutes for the practical tips, right? And nothing else, we know now that connection is the core and the foundation of connection is building safety, right? So we're going to build that over time. We know that the tone that we use, that's the melody of our voice and our body language, all of those really matters. If our voices are too harsh, that's going to be a step back retreat for the client, either actual step back or internal step back, something that we don't say. Are we sounding disinterested? Are we tired, right? We're just like, oh yeah, that, right? That is a disengagement process. Do we speak clearly with a kind voice? We want to be predictable, right? Because it helps our clients go, I know what's going to happen, when they're going to be here, and maybe each session is structured, meeting is structured similarly so that they know what to expect unless it gets boring, right? So sometimes people communicate with us in ways that are difficult. They call us and they go, no, we're out, you got nothing, you're not helping, right? So we're going to try to respond to that with kindness, validation, and connection and ongoing attention, right? So every sentence, every action that we engage in is a bridge to connection or not. That's something to remember. Also, a lot of pressure on us, right? So we want to make sure, though, that we know that missteps are just part of the process. We will do things that are going to foster disconnection by nature of being human. It's going to happen, right? And it's actually a great thing if we make a tiny mistake that we didn't even know that we made that mistake, and we step back and we model what it means to say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I think that really offended you or disconnected us, and now I know. So we're going to not model, great thing for parenting, how to make a mistake and how to walk back that thing, right? That really helps people see us as humans and themselves become kinder humans, right? So some things to say for starters. Oh, 1 minute. Okay, I got to move. I'm noticing that this something is hard for you. I have an idea of what we can do. What about this? I'm wondering what might be getting in the way. And can we schedule a time? Give them now's not the time, but to brainstorm about XYZ. We talked about this. We talk about validation. The more we know our clients, the better chance we have, hence the listening, right, to find the right thing for, we have a relationship, we know stuff about them, we find the right thing to do. So I'm going to create environments that signal safety. I'm going to bring those comfort items. If I can't carry too much stuff around, I might carry pictures around, right? And we're going to personalize them over time. When somebody's having a hard time, especially like a kid, we might take out that laminated picture that I carry around for them so they can just hold that and look at it, right? For meetings, we're going to do a check-in and a check-out, like take the temperature, how are you feeling today, what has happened, and at the end, we're going to say what worked for you today and what was difficult. So we have more things that we know about that client for the next time we work together. So we're going to reframe, right? Instead of talking about that difficult client, right? I'm going, oh my God, that client's so difficult, right? I'm going to talk about that client really has a lot of fear about working with me. And I know where that fear comes from. It's going to help me have more empathy with that client. Okay, so thank you for doing all that work that you do out there with soup cans flying, people running, throwing things at you, right? You're still going out there every day. So thank you so much. I'm going to hang around for a minute and now go do great things. Thank you.